Let me tell you something about Do-Hyun. He had been on the cover of 3 magazines simultaneously, the week before everything collapsed. 3 countries, 3 covers, same jaw, same eyes, same face, that the fashion world had spent 15 years calling once in a generation. He walked into rooms like he had already won whatever was happening inside them. And for 15 years, nobody had shown him otherwise. That was about to end. But here is what nobody knew. Not the industry, not the media, not the thousands of people who would later watch the video of what happened on that runway and share it until it broke the internet. The woman who was about to dismantle everything Do-Hyun thought he knew about himself had already saved him once. She saved him when he was 17 years old, broke, and standing on a rooftop in Seoul with borrowed shoes, 2 sizes too big. And she never told him. Seoul, 15 years ago. A 19-year-old girl crouched on a rooftop with a second-hand Canon camera and 40 minutes of light before the sun dropped behind the Han River. Her name was Zara Mensah, and she had already been told, many times, by many people, with great confidence, that she did not belong in fashion photography. She was mixed race. She was a woman. She had no connections, no family money, no industry name behind her. She was nobody's image of who stands behind the camera at a luxury shoot. She had been told this so consistently, and by so many people, that she had eventually stopped arguing with them. Not because she believed them, but because she was busy. She was busy building something they would never see coming. But on this particular evening, on this particular rooftop, she wasn't building anything. She was looking at a boy, 17 years old. Everything about him said borrowed. Borrowed shoes. Borrowed confidence that hadn't settled into his body yet. He was standing at the edge of the rooftop, staring at the city below him, with an expression Zara recognized immediately. Because she wore it herself, every single day. The expression of someone who has been told very clearly, and very often, that a certain world is not for them, and has not yet decided whether to believe it. She lowered her camera. "Hey," she called. He turned. "Stand like you already belong here," she told him. "The camera will believe whatever you believe." Something cracked open in his face. He straightened, lifted his chin, looked at that city like he was already part of it. She raised her camera. Click. She never told him her name. He never asked. She submitted those photographs to 3 agencies the following week, anonymously. She wrote a short biography of this unknown boy she had found on a rooftop. She stamped her initials in the corner of every frame. ZM. Not as a signature anyone would notice, but as a private record. Proof to herself that she had been there. 6 months later, Do-Hyun signed his first modeling contract. 3 years after that, he was on every major cover in Asia. 12 years after that, he was the face that luxury fashion called when it wanted to remind the world how powerful it could be. And Zara watched from a distance, said nothing, and got back to work. 15 years later. Maison Étoile Studio, Seoul, 7:45 in the morning, 40-foot ceilings, Italian marble floors, 12 studio lights arranged with the kind of precision that takes hours, the kind of silence that costs money. The crew had been there since 6. Nobody was relaxed. Not because the work was hard, because he was coming. A junior stylist leaned toward the girl beside her. They say don't make eye contact until he speaks first. The girl nodded, like this was completely normal information. In this world, it was. The elevator opened. Do-Hyun stepped out. He was 32 now, and the borrowed shoes were long gone. Italian leather, a jacket that cost more than most monthly salaries. He moved through the studio with the ease of someone who had been the most important person in every room for so long that he had simply stopped accounting for it. His eyes scanned the space once, and stopped. Near the back wall, a woman was adjusting a light diffuser herself, sleeves rolled up, a small crease between her brows, fully inside some technical problem she was solving in her head. She had natural hair pulled back, plain work jacket. She held a light meter like a surgeon holds a scalpel, like it was an extension of her hand. She did not look up. Do-Hyun's jaw tightened. He walked to his mark. The shoot began. Zara directed with quiet precision. Chin slightly left. Hold. Don't give me the magazine face. Give me the man before the magazine existed. Something flickered behind Do-Hyun's eyes. Like those words touched something real. He shut it down immediately. But 8 minutes in, not even 12, 8, he stopped mid-pose. Complete stillness. The crew froze. He said, very quietly, and in this industry, quiet is always more dangerous than loud. Who approved this photographer? Nobody answered. He turned and looked directly at Zara for the first time. You don't belong in luxury fashion. Zara lowered her camera. Her face showed nothing. Luxury requires a specific understanding of aesthetics, he said, of culture, of a world you clearly haven't. He let his eyes move over her, slowly, deliberately, inhabited. He did not say the word. He did not need to. Every single person in that studio understood exactly which world he was describing, exactly which door he was closing, and exactly who he was closing it on. Replace her, he said to the creative director, or I walk. 10 minutes. He went to his dressing room. Door closed. The room exhaled. Zara stood completely still. One of the junior photographers reached toward her arm. She shook her head. Don't. She began packing her bag, methodically, no rushing, no visible crack in anything. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen, answered immediately. I know, she said quietly. I was there. She listened. No, don't fire him. Handle his team. I'll handle the rest. She hung up, finished packing, walked out. The creative director stared at the door after it closed. The junior photographer turned to him slowly. Who did she just call? He didn't answer. But his hands were shaking, and nobody in that room could explain why the most powerful man in Korean fashion had just told a photographer she didn't belong, and the photographer had made a phone call that made the most senior person on set go pale. Nobody could explain it yet. Now, before we go any further, if this story already has you, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Hit subscribe right now and ring that notification bell. We are just getting started, and it gets much more intense from here. Welcome to Afro-K Storyverse. Let's go. Zara's apartment. Not what you would expect. Not a penthouse. Not a showcase. Just a real home. Photographs covering an entire wall in mismatched frames. Paint on the baseboards from a project that never got finished. A child's drawing in a plain black frame, hanging beside an original gallery piece worth $40,000. Both there. Both treated equally. Because to Zara, both meant exactly the same thing. Someone made something. It deserved to be seen. She came in, set her bag down, stood at the kitchen counter with both hands flat on the surface, and said nothing. The performance of being fine is exhausting. She had been performing since 8 minutes into that shoot, and she was tired. Somebody was horrible to you. She turned. Ethan, 8 years old, standing in the doorway, wearing her old camera bag as a backpack, which he did sometimes, for reasons he never fully explained. He had her eyes, her specific quality of attention, and he was using all of it on her right now. I'm fine, she said. Mom. Ethan. I have eyes, he said. Also ears. Also instincts. I'm extremely well equipped for this conversation. He climbed onto the counter to be at her height. She had stopped telling him not to. Was it a fashion person? Fashion people are the worst. Present company excluded. Because I'm not technically in fashion yet. I'm in the research phase. The research phase, she said. Everything at 8 is research phase. She laughed. She hadn't meant to, but she did. Ethan studied her laugh and found it insufficient. Did they say something about how you look? He said. No warning, just directly. She went still. Because I look like you, he said, and I think you are the most beautiful person I have ever seen in my life, including in magazines. And I have seen many magazines. So if someone said something about how you look, they also said something about me. And I take that very personally. She pulled him close and held him. He patted her back with careful deliberateness, like someone who had decided this was the correct response and was executing it with full commitment. I'm going to bite them, he said into her shoulder. You're not biting anyone. Emotional support bite. Very gentle, completely medical. That is not a thing. I'm making it a thing, right now. She held him a little longer than she meant to. After Ethan slept, she sat at her desk in the quiet, dark apartment and opened her laptop. Maison Étoile internal documents, board meeting minutes, financial projections, a legal brief on the structural review of 3 subsidiary companies. Her company, her board, her brief. Her phone rang. Chairman Han. The board wants him terminated, he said. Publicly. They're calling it hostile work environment. No. Zara. He humiliated you on your own set, which nobody knows is my set, she said. Keep it that way. You have every right. I have the right to be professional, she said. That is what I am choosing. Tomorrow I go back and we finish the campaign. Silence. And if he does it again, then we will have a different conversation. She closed the laptop, sat in the dark for a moment. She did not cry. Not because she wasn't hurt, but because the most radical thing she could do, in an industry that had spent years trying to make her invisible, was to remain completely visible, completely composed, and completely in control. She had built an empire on that principle. She was not abandoning it tonight. The next morning, Do-Hyun arrived expecting a different photographer. He had arranged his face on the drive over. Gracious tolerance. No victory. Just the natural order restoring itself. The studio doors opened. Zara walked in, set her equipment bag down, started adjusting the first light, without looking at him. Good morning. We lost yesterday's hours, so we need to move quickly. Can you be in position in 10 minutes? Do-Hyun stood completely still. You came back, he said. I'm working, she said. Are you? He went to his mark, and then he decided, in the part of himself that had kept him untouchable for 15 years, she would not survive this week. Day 2, 40 minutes late. Traffic. Zara had already adjusted the schedule. Everything was ready when he arrived. No tension, no pointed silence. She just showed him the updated plan and moved on. He had not expected that. Day 3. Refused every pose suggestion. That angle was popular in 2019. I'm not nostalgic. Zara looked at him for exactly 1 second. Then show me what right now looks like on your face. He had nothing. She had turned his refusal into a creative challenge, and he couldn't argue without admitting he had no better idea. Day 4. Criticized the lighting directly in front of the client. This configuration is amateur. The shadow direction is completely wrong. Zara turned. Same temperature as always. Describe wrong. The direction, he said. The light is directional, because your left profile is 3 degrees stronger than your right. I'm compensating for natural asymmetry, so the client gets consistency across the full sequence. If you prefer symmetrical setup, I can adjust. You'll just want to explain to the client why every angle in the campaign looks identical. The client nodded. Keep the current setup. Do-Hyun said nothing, but something was happening to him that he did not have language for yet. He had deployed everything, and she had not flinched. Not once. Not because she was pretending, but because she was genuinely focused on something more important than him. That had never happened to him before. He became consumed by one question. Why doesn't she react? Day 4. Lunch break. Do-Hyun was standing near the catering table with a coffee he hadn't touched, when 2 crew members drifted close without noticing him. Have you gone through her archive? The first one said. Which era? All of it. But specifically, the Namsan Rooftop series, the editorial that launched Do-Hyun's whole career 15 years ago. Someone showed me a contact sheet, and the compositional language is identical to her work. Same framing, same instinct, same treatment of available light. The second crew member went very quiet. You're saying the anonymous photographer who actually discovered him. I'm not saying anything officially, the first said. I'm just saying it's worth wondering." They moved away. Do-Hyun's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. Because here is the thing. He remembered that rooftop with the specific clarity people reserve for moments that changed everything. He was 17. Borrowed shoes. A woman with a camera. Backlit so he never saw her face. He never got her name. The agency said the photographs were submitted anonymously. That was all they knew. For 15 years, he had been grateful to a ghost. He looked across the studio at Zara. No. It can't be. The thought was too large. He put it down and walked away from it. But at the end of the day, something happened that he could not walk away from. The studio was nearly empty. Do-Hyun, collecting his jacket near the equipment tables. Zara's camera bag, slightly unzipped, shifted against the table leg. A photograph slid out and fell face up. He picked it up automatically, looked at it, stopped breathing. Old paper, warm tone. The grain of an older era. A teenage boy on a rooftop. Borrowed shoes, 2 sizes too big. Himself, 17 years old. The Namsan rooftop. And in the corner, in a small, deliberate stamp, ZM. He looked up. Zara was standing in the doorway, jacket on, ready to leave. She saw him holding it. Neither of them spoke. The room had the quality of a breath being held. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Something moved across her face. Not composure. Something urgent. Something cracked. "Ethan?" Her voice changed completely. "Ethan, slow down. What happened? I'm coming right now." She ran. Past Do-Hyun, without looking at him. He stood alone in the empty studio. Photograph still in his hand. He looked at it for a long time. He had carried a copy of this in his wallet for 10 years. Told interviewers it reminded him where he started. Never once tried to find who took it, because he had told himself the anonymity was intentional. Now the photograph was in his hands, and the woman who took it had just run down a hallway. And everything he thought he knew about his own story had just turned completely upside down. He followed. He told himself it was to return the photograph. He found them in the hospital waiting room. Bright, ordinary, plastic chairs. A cooking show on the wall television that nobody was watching. Zara was crouched in front of Ethan, who sat with a bandaged knee, examining it with the deep dissatisfaction of someone whose injury does not reflect the drama of the event. "It barely even bled," Ethan said. "It bled enough," Zara said. "I have seen worse. You are 8. Your data is limited." Do-Hyun sat down across from them. Nobody invited him. He sat down anyway. Ethan looked at him. Long, slow, completely unfiltered. "You're the rude man," Ethan said. "Ethan." "No, Mom. He's the rude man from the video. I saw it. The internet has receipts." "What video?" Do-Hyun said. "The internet has everything," Ethan said. "You should assume this at all times. It's good practice." Zara put her face in her hand. "I'm Ethan," the boy said formally. "I don't shake hands with rude people at the start. We operate on a probationary system. Results pending." "What does probation involve?" "Observation," Ethan said. "I'm watching to see if you're going to pretend to be better than you are, or actually be better. People do both. It's very important to know the difference." He studied Do-Hyun carefully. "You can call me Mr. Grumpy Face," Ethan said. "I already named you. The naming is done. You don't get a vote." The hospital cleared Ethan quickly. Scraped knee, minor. He received a bandage and a lollipop, and zero sympathy for his claim that the situation had been significantly more dangerous than the medical staff were crediting. Outside, evening, ice cream cart near the entrance. Ethan was negotiating. "One flavor," Zara said. "One flavor, and a very large portion. Normal size." "Fine, under protest. I want that noted." He got his ice cream and walked straight to where Do-Hyun was standing and sat down on the low wall like he owned it. Do-Hyun sat beside him. Ethan studied him while eating. "You look sad when you think nobody's watching," he said. "I'm not sad. You look sad, and you lie. Very complex case." Do-Hyun almost smiled. Your mother didn't teach you to be less direct. She taught me to be honest, Ethan said. She says dishonesty is exhausting, and she's already tired enough, so we don't do it in our house. He licked his ice cream, and then his voice dropped. The performance went away. He sounded suddenly much older than 8. She works harder than anyone I know, he said, and sometimes people who should respect her don't, and she comes home and pretends everything is fine so I don't worry, and I always know anyway, because I have her eyes. He looked at Do-Hyun directly. You were one of those people, one of the ones who made her pretend. Silence. My mom says mean people are usually lonely, Ethan said. Are you lonely? Do-Hyun had no prepared answer for this. No industry-trained deflection. No managed response. Yes, he said. Ethan nodded with the gravity of someone cross-referencing important data. That's not an excuse, he said, but it's a reason. Mom says there's a difference. An excuse means you use the reason to avoid accountability. A reason is just an explanation of what happened. You can acknowledge the reason without it excusing the behavior. Mate. Do-Hyun stared at this child. Your mother taught you all of that? She says a lot of things. I retain the useful ones. Across from them, Zara was laughing at something the ice cream vendor had said, completely unguarded. Just a woman on a sidewalk in the evening, being herself with no audience, no armor, no performance. Do-Hyun watched her and understood, for the first time, what he had actually done. Not a PR problem, not a professional incident. He had done it to a person. Then his phone rang. His manager. You need to come in tonight. Something's been published. What? Someone leaked a story about the Maison Étoile photographer, Zara Mensah. They're claiming she got her position through relationships with executives. It's spreading fast. We need to get in front of it. Do-Hyun went completely still. Who leaked it? That's not the priority right now. Who leaked it? Silence. We can discuss sourcing later. Right now, the priority is managing the narrative on your side, so this doesn't connect back to the set incident. Do-Hyun understood. He understood completely. His team had created this story, had weaponized a rumor against a woman whose only offense was refusing to leave a set she owned. Done it in his name, and with his crisis as the justification. He hung up, looked at Ethan. I have to go, he said. Probationary period is not complete, Ethan said. I know. Results still pending. I know, Do-Hyun said quietly. He left. The next morning was a disaster. Media vans outside the studio, cameras on the pavement. The story had spread exactly the way damaging stories spread. Fast, messy, just plausible enough that denial started to look like guilt. Inside, sponsors calling, board members sending urgent messages, the kind of atmosphere that happens when a building has heard something structural crack, and everyone is waiting to find out how serious it is. Do-Hyun was already there. He had been there an hour. Read everything. Confirmed what he suspected about the source. He knew exactly what his team had done. And then Zara walked in, and he said it anyway. Because knowing something, and overcoming 15 years of trained self-preservation, are two completely different skills. We should discuss, he said, whether it's wise for the campaign to continue, with you attached to it. Given the... Zara stopped, turned. Something shifted in her face. Something he had never seen from her before. Not anger. Something colder and more precise and more devastating than anger. Given the what, she said. The reports. The reports. She walked toward him. 3 steps. The crew was present. Nobody moved. You believed them, she said. I'm not saying. You believed them, immediately, without a single question. You heard a story that matched what you already thought about me, and you walked in here and repeated it to my face. Her voice didn't rise. It stayed completely level. That made it worse. I have spent 12 years in this industry, she said, being told that my success needs a different explanation. That women who look like me can't simply be good at something. We must have traded something for it. That the years of work and the years of being told no and building anyway, none of that counts as a real explanation. There always has to be another story. Pause. You just handed me the exact same sentence that every person who ever underestimated me has used. In my own studio. Again. It was my team, he said. She went still. The story. My management team sourced it and spread it, to protect me from what happened on set. I found out last night. Silence. And you said it to me anyway, she said. Yes. You knew what you knew and you still said it. Yes. Because it was easier than standing in front of you without a defense. The room was completely still. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. You know what the worst part is, she said. It's not that you believed them, it's that you wanted to. Because if I got here the wrong way, then you don't have to feel anything about what you did to me on that first day. It makes it easier for you. She picked up her camera bag. You became the person who tells other people they don't belong, she said. I hope the distance between that rooftop at 17 and where you're standing right now feels worth it. Because from where I'm standing, you traveled a very long way to become exactly what hurt you. She left. His phone buzzed. A message from his manager. Damage control working. Narrative shifting. Good outcome. He stared at it. Then he called Chairman Han. I need to understand the full shape of what I've been standing inside, he said. All of it. Right now. Silence. Then, come to the office. There's something you should have known a long time ago. We are at the point in this story where everything is about to crack open. If you are watching this right now, like this video, it genuinely helps more people find stories like this one. And subscribe to Afro-K Storyverse so you never miss what's coming next. Stay with us. Top floor of the Maison Étoile building. Do-Hyun had been in this building many times. He had never been on this floor. The assistant who met him at the elevator said, "The chairwoman is ready for you." "I'm here for Chairman Han. Chairman Han asked me to bring you here." The boardroom, floor-to-ceiling glass. The whole city below. Board members already standing. The room had the quality of something prepared. Something that had been waiting a long time. Do-Hyun entered. The opposite door opened. Zara walked in. Different now. Same person, but completely different framing. Tailored jacket. Nothing extraneous. The camera nowhere in sight. She walked to the head of the table, and every single person in that room straightened by exactly 1 degree. "Good afternoon, Chairwoman." That word landed in the room like a stone dropped from a height. Do-Hyun did not move. Zara sat at the head of the table, opened a folder, looked at him across the full length of the room. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Shall we discuss your contract?" He could not speak. Chairman Han stood. "Mr. Cha, I built the structural shell of this company 12 years ago. Zara built everything inside it. She has been the anonymous creative director and primary shareholder for 9 years. Every campaign this company has run, every creative direction, every photographer hired, every decision that shaped this brand, all of it came from this office, from her." Do-Hyun found his voice. "The campaign, my agency, the international partnerships, all connected here," Zara said. "For how long?" "Your last 4 campaigns ran through subsidiaries I control. Your agency has been under my portfolio for 6 years. 6 years. He had been working inside her empire for 6 years. "You knew who I was," he said, "the entire time on set, every single day." "Yes. Then why? Why didn't I fire you?" She tilted her head very slightly. "Because I don't make professional decisions based on personal injury. The industry spent years trying to make my pain into a liability. I refused. I'm still refusing." Then Chairman Han placed something on the table in front of Do-Hyun. A folder, old paper, contact sheets. Do-Hyun opened it. A rooftop. 15 years ago. A teenage boy with borrowed shoes. ZM. Stamped in the corner of every single frame. He looked at the contact sheets. Then he looked at Zara. "You made me," he said. "You made yourself," she said. "I took the photograph." "Why?" "You had nothing to gain. You didn't even know me." The boardroom went completely quiet. And for the first time, for the very first time, Zara's composure became transparent. "Because you were standing on a rooftop, looking at a city, like someone who had been told his whole life that none of it was for him, she said. And I knew exactly what that felt like. Every day, I had been told the same thing, every single day since I picked up a camera. So I thought, if nobody is going to open the door, at least I can take the photograph. At least I can show someone that they are worth being seen. She let that sit. And then 15 years later, you stood on my set and told me I didn't belong there, she said. Which means one of us forgot where we both came from. And it wasn't me. She slid a document to the center of the table. This is your contract termination notice. My legal team prepared it after day 1. I have not signed it. I am choosing not to. What happens next is entirely your decision. She stood, walked toward the door, stopped, did not turn around. For what it's worth, she said, that boy on the rooftop, the one who let a stranger see him for exactly what he was, he showed up in last week's photographs, even when you were trying to ruin them. She left. Do-Hyun stood in that boardroom alone. And for the first time in 11 years of being the most celebrated face in the industry, he had nothing. He did not protect himself after that. He gave an interview, a real one, no management present, no prepared statements. He named his team specifically. He described exactly what they had done and why. He described the said incident without softening a single word of it. The industry responded within hours. 3 endorsements canceled by end of day. His agency dropped him within the week. The social media verdict was immediate, and it was brutal. He had spent years being untouchable. The world was now very interested in demonstrating that the bill had simply been deferred, not canceled. He was in his apartment, very large, very quiet, very empty, sitting at a table with a cup of tea he hadn't touched, the old photograph in front of him, when the knock came. He opened the door. Ethan. Raincoat. Extremely serious expression. How did you find this address? Do-Hyun said. I'm resourceful. You're 8. 8 and resourceful. You keep saying the age like it limits something. I disagree. He walked past Do-Hyun into the apartment without being invited. Looked around. You live very minimally. This is either a design choice or evidence of emotional unavailability. I'm leaning toward the second. Does your mother know you're here? My mother thinks I'm at Jiho's. Jiho owes me from the juice incident. He sat at the table. I have been monitoring the probationary situation remotely. I've reviewed the interview. The evidence suggests you may be capable of genuine improvement. This is not a final determination. Ethan. He pulled a folded paper from his raincoat pocket, placed it on the table between them with both hands. Do-Hyun picked it up. Operation Fix, Mr. Grumpy Face. Step 1. Apologize to every crew member by name. Not a group apology. Each person individually. Step 2. Publicly name what your team did to my mom's reputation. You already did this. Credit where it's due. Step 3. Mentor. 3 young people from backgrounds this industry usually ignores. Actually mentor them, not for publicity. Step 4. Never take a campaign without asking who gets credited for the creative work. Step 5. Classified. You have to earn Step 5. Do-Hyun read it twice, then looked at Ethan. She raised something remarkable, he said. I know, Ethan said simply. I'm trying to be half as good. He stood, buttoned his raincoat. She doesn't know I came. I figured. She would say I shouldn't have. Probably. But she also says the right thing and the easy thing are almost never the same. And you have to do the right thing even when nobody asked you to. He picked up his list, folded it along the original creases. Probationary period continues, he said. I'll be watching. He walked out. Do-Hyun sat alone at that table in that large, quiet apartment. He looked at the empty doorway. Then he looked at the photograph. Then he picked up his phone and started making calls. The Maison Étoile Global Fashion Show. 6 weeks later. The biggest presentation in the company's history. Live broadcast across 12 countries. Every seat filled with people who had been watching Do-Hyun's public collapse and had very specific expectations about what this evening was going to confirm. Backstage, had the pressured energy of something that matters. Models, final adjustments, stylists moving fast and quietly. Zara was backstage, work jacket, camera, overseeing the documentation team, focused entirely on the work in front of her. Ethan stood beside her in a junior photographer's vest, 3 sizes too large, wearing it with complete conviction. "You should be in your seat," Zara said. "I'm working. You're 8. 8 and working. Please don't interrupt me. I'm very busy." The show began. Music started. Do-Hyun walked out. The crowd reacted the way crowds react when they don't know what they're supposed to feel. Charged, uncertain, watching. He walked to center stage, reached his mark, and stopped. The music continued for 3 seconds. He raised his hand. Signal to cut. The entire hall went silent. Every camera in the building found his face. He looked forward. 3 years ago, I stood on this brand's set and told a photographer she didn't belong in luxury fashion, he said. I said it in front of her entire crew. I used language designed to remind her that the industry had already decided who gets to stand in rooms like this one. I was not subtle about what I meant. The hall was completely still. I was wrong. Not strategically wrong. Not wrong because it became inconvenient. Wrong in the way that causes real damage to a real person. Wrong in the way that doesn't wash off. He paused. The photographer I dismissed that day built this company. She built it from nothing, in anonymity, while this industry told her for years that someone who looks like her couldn't understand luxury. So she built an empire and proved them wrong without ever putting her name on it. He looked out at the audience. And 20 years before that, she found a 17-year-old boy on a rooftop in Seoul. He had borrowed shoes, no prospects. The look of someone who has been told very clearly that a certain world is not for him. She pointed a camera at him. She told him to stand like he already belonged. And because of that one decision, I am standing here. He stopped. Let it land completely. Her name is Zara Mensah, he said. And I am only here because she once looked at someone the world had already written off and decided he was worth the photograph. Backstage, Zara had not moved. She was standing with her camera at her side, watching the monitor. Her expression had done something complicated and then gone very still. Ethan reached up and took her hand, just held it. After a moment, she looked down at him. That's step 5, he said quietly. She looked back at the monitor. You planned this, she said. I'm very busy, he said. I told you. She looked at her son for a long moment. Something in her face broke open. Not sadness, not relief. Something older than both of those things. The specific feeling of a person who built something enormous in silence and is finally, after all of it, being seen. She raised her camera, pointed it at the monitor showing Do-Hyun on that stage. Click. 6 months later, same studio, same 40-foot ceilings, same Italian marble, same light, but everything else was different. Zara was behind the camera, Do-Hyun in front of it. The crew worked with the ease of people who know the work is the point, and all the other nonsense has been left somewhere far behind. Do-Hyun was near the window. The light was doing something specific. She had been adjusting for 4 minutes. He was waiting. With actual patience. How do you want me? He said. She looked through the viewfinder. Like you belong here, she said. He recognized those words. She knew he did. She clicked. From the far end of the studio, Ethan appeared, eating a sandwich, junior photographer's vest, lanyard around his neck that said press. Both of you, he said without stopping, are emotionally exhausting. I want compensation for ongoing emotional labor. You're not employed, Zara said. Emotionally employed. Different contract. Invoice is being prepared. He disappeared around the equipment wall. Do-Hyun looked at Zara across the studio. Zara. I'm sorry. Not for the industry. Not for the cameras. Not as a statement. Just 2 words. In an empty studio. To the one person they were owed to. She looked at him. The real look. No armor. No performance. Just her actual face. And what she said next? What she said next was not forgiveness. Not yet. Forgiveness takes longer than 6 months, and both of them knew it. But it was something. "I see you," she said. "The way I saw you on that rooftop. That's enough to start." She raised the camera. Click. Here is what this story is really about. It is not about a man who was humbled. It is not about a woman who forgave. It is about what happens when a person builds something extraordinary in the dark. When the industry, the system, the people with the power to open doors tell you that you are not the right kind of person to walk through them, and instead of breaking, you build your own door. Zara Mensah spent 15 years being invisible by choice, not because she was ashamed, but because she understood that some empires are built in silence. And then the man she had once saved without knowing it stood on her set and told her she didn't belong. And she made the phone call. And she went back. And she waited. Not for revenge. For the truth to surface on its own. Because she always knew it would. That is what composed really means. It does not mean you are not hurting. It means you trust what you built. If this story hit you somewhere real, if any part of Zara felt familiar, if any part of Do-Hyun made you think of someone, if Ethan made you smile when you needed it, then share this video right now. Put it in front of someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Afro-K Storyverse and ring that notification bell, because we have more stories coming, and every single one is built to stay with you. Like this video. Leave a comment below. Tell us which moment cracked you open, because we read every single one, and this community is built on those conversations. Follow Afro-K Storyverse. We will see you in the next story.